And I've seen that over the years of, hey, well, why can't this be a good solution for me? And it's like, well, you guys are about 100 million today or less. And believe me, this will cost more than what you guys bring in a year. And we don't want that to happen to you. And books, there are some tier 3 solutions that are really good. You look at like a Sage Intacct or NetSuite or various other solutions that are specific maybe to your industry. A lot of times when you're starting to outgrow QuickBooks, you're probably doing some Google searches, seeing all that's out there. There's going to be a lot of systems that pop up number one in Google search because they're well-known systems, but they're more for very large companies. You'll probably see the SAPs and IFSs and all of those. But a lot of times when you're first coming off QuickBooks, there are some tier 3 solutions that are really good. You look at like a Sage Intacct or NetSuite or various other solutions that are specific maybe to your industry. There's tons of them out there. Genius is one that works really well with smaller companies on the manufacturing side of things. And these all are more affordable options to go because you're not going to be SAP, S4HANA out the gate. Those are, the $1 billion companies. And I've seen that over the years of, hey, well, why can't this be a good solution for me? And it's like, well, you guys are about 100 million today or less. And believe me, this will cost more than what you guys bring in a year. And we don't want that to happen to you. And so that's the big part of just looking at what are those smaller systems that are the graduating part of moving off of QuickBooks, but they're not putting you so far in debt that you can't afford a solution. When you're looking at trying to understand what you should start setting aside and budgeting and looking at really true cost, it's really good to know how many user licenses are you going to need for your accounting system. Is it 3? Is it 15? Depending on how big your team is and what they're going to need to have. And so those user licenses, whatever the cost is per month, and kind of look at that over an annualized number. And then looking at, are there different functions of this accounting software that you need that are not necessarily out of the box solutions, which can be a lot of times with forecasting and a lot of the newer technology with AI coming into it and it helping put together reporting. And also OCR, which is automatically reading your invoices and then putting them into the system. A lot of those functions aren't included, or if they are, they're very base functions that don't necessarily do the job that you need it to do. And so you're going to need to really think, what do I need it to do? So I'm maybe alleviating some of the stress that my team has. Maybe you have a really small accounting team. Maybe that's 3 people and you're like, hey, I have one person and all they seem to do is enter in invoices and they can't get to any of this work over here. Then I need to make sure my solution has some OCR capabilities in it so it can help them get caught up on their work and be able to save time. That's a big, big part of it, is just understanding what's out there and what do you really need, and then looking at the costs of that. What is your budget? What can come into your budget? And there's always negotiating that can happen with these vendors, which is a really nice thing to have. They have just always ask. That's always my thing. The answer is always no unless you ask. If you can say, hey, I need licenses to be at a certain cost, or hey, this module here, that's great. I don't need it today. I may need it in a couple months. What can you help me out with today? So when you're moving off of QuickBooks onto a new system, what do you really need? I'm sure you'll have, just like you get the sales calls of all the vendors wanting to do business with you, you kind of get the same thing from consultants and everybody saying, hey, I can do this for you. Let me bring my team. But you're not a big company, and so you don't want 25 consultants that you're having do something that requires 1 or 2 people. A lot of times when you're going through an implementation, it's a couple of people, maybe it's 2 or 3 that are on there all the time, and it's some various people that may come here and there as that's their little area of expertise. But otherwise, it's best to keep it small, and then some of your team is involved with it, and that helps keep down costs. You don't need something where there's this large exorbitant team and they're just really taking a lot of your company's hard-earned money. There's good ways that I can help you, or other consultants can help you put together, hey, what do we really need and what is acceptable to fit into our budget and what makes sense. And then telling the vendor, this is what our plan is, this is what our budget is, and being able to have them fit their team in with you to keep down those costs. So it's really normal to not know what to do in instances like this. You are the founder of the company. Your goals are always to grow it and make your dream come true in a lot of ways with your product and service. And so reaching out to somebody like myself or another firm that you may be working with, that you have good rapport with, you have this trust that they can help lead you along the way, is going to be what's best for you, and putting in just making sure that the right decisions are being made and they're in your best interest. The worst thing is to have a third party come in that doesn't know you, doesn't know your business, doesn't understand the culture of your organization, making these big changes. And so when you have somebody that understands you, they're helping guide you in that, but then also looking for whatever red flags may be popping up, or just kind of gauging, hey, you seem to be uneasy around this solution. Let's look at it from a different perspective and make sure that everybody's confident in it, because it's a humongous decision and it's an expensive decision, and you don't want to look at it and say, oh my gosh, why did I do this? And I should have waited or done a little bit more due diligence. Knowledge is power. There's a lot that goes on out there. There's tons of noise from different consulting firms. There's probably a lot of chatter within organizations you're part of and networking groups. And so I always say, feel free to message me on LinkedIn or any of my other social media channels, and we can happily talk through maybe what you're going through and the decisions that you have to make, and hopefully get you to a place where you feel very confident in the route that you want to go.